What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another collaboration here on the YouTube channel. I'm so glad you guys are here. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. And today I got my brother, man. He's one of the inspirational figures on our Business Hall of Game podcast here on my channel. But I'm going to let him introduce himself, where he's from, and what he does, and I'll let him talk to you about that. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, what's going on, folks? This is Wrench Turner coming to you from Dallas, Texas. Definitely glad to be here, man, and salute to the gatekeeper himself. I always refer to him as a gatekeeper for a lot of the work that he does in the spirit, but glad to be here and glad to share some of my experiences and looking forward to it.
All right, give him a round of applause, Kim, for being here. This is our brother who always has contributed with great topics and great things for the Hall of Game show. But brother, I know that you now have a YouTube channel. Usually it's me, you, brother Gabe, Antoine Wade, brother Sub-Zero, Dita Rail, guys like that. And I wanted to, we wanted to kind of talk about certain things. And you're a very successful man now. You give a lot of advice to younger black men, not only just on YouTube but in your city. But we want to talk about your own personal story, right? Because today's topic is how to go from a Pookie and a Ray Ray to a blue collar Henry or a high value man. And I kind of wanted to know, why are we talking about this topic today, brother?
Yeah, so a lot of times in the manosphere, we have these conversations, and it's because a lot of us tend to end up in the same spaces based on sometimes our income bracket or sometimes our common interests. There's a niche within our community, more specifically within the black community and even other communities, where that guy who does order picking or something like that doesn't necessarily get a chance to get with someone who, in my case, is an ops manager. And so I'm trying to bridge that gap and put that information out there so that those brothers who, we don't hang out at the same places. That's something that Kevin talks about a lot. We don't hang out at the same places. We don't have the same group of friends. So I'm trying to put this together to show them that, hey, if you want to be able to transition into some of the spaces that we're in, this is the mindset to do it. This is the thought process behind how you get there. So that's the biggest part of it. Some red pill topics here and there, but for the most part, trying to get those guys up to speed. Right.
Let's talk about you, personally. I know you come from a rough place in Dallas. I see you now. You're balling. You're a very eloquent speaker. You're a very intelligent man. You're doing real good in your industry. But you wasn't always like that.
Absolutely.
You was a knucklehead. Take us back to the knucklehead path that you was on.
Yeah, man. So, and I'm not proud of it, but I think it's necessary to really touch on how I kind of came up. So, came up in the projects.
Okay.
So of course saw a lot of stuff, and then as I got older, I followed the blueprint of how to put yourself at a disadvantage in life. I did. I basically checked all the boxes. Had children too early. Graduated. I did graduate high school and all of that stuff. Took a few years trying to figure it out, and eventually went to trade school. Went to trade school where I was able to figure out what I was good at, and then figure out how to get paid for it. And what I learned is what was common to me, or what came easy to me. Someone would pay top dollar for somebody with that particular skill set. But leading up to that point, like I said, had kids too early. Was struggling to try and figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? What is my purpose? And I think that's a question that a lot of brothers ask themselves, and they have no clue how to figure that out. And once it clicked for me, I was super excited about it, because I was like, now I can share this information with a lot of the other brothers. But I started running into this brick wall because the thought process wasn't there to really receive it. So that's kind of my background. Grew up rough, had kids too early, got educated and got active.
Let me ask you this, because I come from a similar rough environment where, you can make that decision. You could be out there with the wrong crowd, and you don't really see Thank God that we got a little bit older because you're around my age, and we look back at that like, oh man, it was easily a time where I could have had a different life, or I could have, went down the wrong path. And at some points was going down the wrong path. A lot of young black men might be looking at this, or somebody might be on the cusp. What changed your mind on that path that you was going down that could have led to demise, even if it wasn't criminal, but could have been just, a path of just not having high expectations, or, not having lower standards for your work productivity. What changed, you to get out of that mindset to say, you know what, I can come out here and compete as an African-American man in society?
Man, I have a video on my channel where I talk about this, and one of the most important things that ever happened in my life was I met this brother who saw something in me, or saw my skill set, and really called it out and said, hey, you're pretty damn good at that. Have you tried doing it in this industry? Man, if you can do that, surely you can do this. And I trusted the brother. This brother, I actually thought he was a D-boy when I first met him. The brother, he looked like a D-boy and he was from a different hood here in Dallas, but he was from the hood. When I saw that this brother worked a regular job, and I was like, man, he was riding foreign, jewelry, huge home, all this stuff that I was like, man, I want to be able to have that. So this is somebody that I need to listen to. And what I learned, and I kind of touched on it just a minute ago, and it's really the piece that is going to spring a lot of brothers free, is I figured out what I was good at, what I was naturally good at. Once it clicked and I realized that I would be compensated for it, and I would be compensated well, I learned that I didn't have to work as hard as a lot of other people. And I was twice as good at it. Once that light bulb turned on, man, I was off to the races. And I've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Let me ask you this. So you have some guys who are naturally good at being, leaders. Sometimes leading a gang, drug organization. There's some guys who have some really good skills in the underworld. And we know some. I know some too. Well, not no more, but I used to know some, and some died and whatever. But you see that some guys have skill sets that can be used there or anywhere. Some people just whatever they want to be, they could be great at it. What do you tell somebody that they in the streets? They might be doing a PPP loan or and then they want to come over into this, and it's looked at as being lame, and but they're already making some money or know somebody doing that. Why should they choose, and especially using the big city like Dallas, where it's a lot of opportunity in the Dallas Fort Worth area to do that kind of stuff? What do you tell our young black men about doing it the right way, and leaving that kind of lifestyle alone, and trusting that your productivity could be done in the right way? What do you tell guys like that?
Man, it's funny you say that, because I deal with a lot of these brothers who are trying to transition and get away from, and a lot of them, they mature out of it. They're like, man, I don't like the stress of it. And so they come into a place of business, and they immediately kind of down on themselves, like, man, I gotta earn more than what these folks are paying me. What I would say is, and it's gonna sound a little hood, but it's the truth, because I want to say it in a way that they understand. It's the same hustle, but it's a different product. It's the same hustle, but it's a different product. So if you're a smart hustler, you get up early in the morning before everybody else is out. You rock and roll, you do whatever you do. And then you get out the way before it's the evening and everybody is out, and the law's rolling through and all this other kind of stuff. It's the same. It's the same hustle, that same drive that you use in the street. Once you put that with what you're naturally good at, you're already 3-4 steps ahead of everybody else anyway. So it's the same drive. You just got to switch the product, man. The product is different. and
Right.
also being patient, because it's not going to happen overnight, but keep that same grind and that same hustle, and then you
Hmm.
start adding skills onto that. Maybe you become more articulate. Maybe you
Okay.
learn how to get better with Excel, or you learn how to have etiquette when you sending emails. Then you learn how to work in teams. Then you learn how to coach up. You learn how to take feedback without getting emotional.
Right.
That's what I would say. Take that same hustle, apply it to a different product. This product is going to be your job, and then start to add different skills onto it.
Okay. For a lot of black men that have been affected by the COVID situation, and now we're in another variant right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I was in Africa, we didn't talk we talked a few times, but I was there
Mm-hmm.
last year. I noticed that guys like you were busy, you were working. Um, at the time last year, I had made the most amount of money I ever made in my life. I noticed that guys like Gabe were doing pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. There are a few guys here that are doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Especially one brother is an emergency medical doctor in the New York area. He was getting paid a ton of money. And what I've noticed is that these black men that have very specialized niche skill sets
Mm-hmm.
were thriving during a time where other people were trying to start a podcast, or
Right.
other people were trying to start a YouTube channel, or other people were trying to get into coding. But these other black men that had accumulated these skills over time, and that had led into management, or led into another lateral move, or led into other things like that, they were still thriving and doing very well. So I want to talk about your what what do you feel about how your investment in your skill sets over the last 10 years? I see you have that nice, lovely home you're sitting in, and it's
No, I
all that stuff.
appreciate
Yeah,
it, bro.
I'm about to
Appreciate
come
it.
through there. Don't worry about it. I'll be there in Dallas pretty soon.
Hey,
But
man, you got an open invite, bro. I told you. You got an
okay,
open invite.
let me see what them frosted flakes is working with. But let's talk about how that has changed your life as an African American man. Those investments into those specialized skills in the last 10 years. What has that done for you, your quality of life, and all that?
Man, listen. When I purchased my home
Okay.
and I pulled into the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
I was literally shocked, bro. It was almost like an out of body experience. I know that sounds corny or cheesy or whatever, but it was
Mm-hmm.
almost like an out of body experience, because I come from nothing. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
come from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What I had also did, I had overshot my 5-year plan, and I knocked it out like 2.5 years. So I was like,
Wow.
I had planned to be here, but I didn't realize that I was progressing as fast as I did.
Right.
And so I got kind of nervous. I started checking everything. I was like, all right, um, have I checked all the boxes that I set out to check in 5 years? And
Mm-hmm.
and I did. I had pre-approval letters. I had everything that I needed. I had, of course, I had paid earnest money. I had,
Mm-hmm.
I had everything that I needed, but it was hard for me to really process that I was actually gonna live in a space like, like what I currently live in now. Um, that investment, when you talk about investing in that skill set, what I ended up finding out was, other people were watching, and they watched the way that I interact and the way that I was able to simplify complex blueprints, look at exploded views of pieces of equipment, and be able to simplify that stuff and show it to people who didn't necessarily have the same skill set that I had. I didn't know people were watching, but eventually it came around and I was asked to move into leadership. I didn't think I was ready, but the higher ups, felt like I was, and everything just came back full circle. All of the steps that I had taken, they asked me to in turn start to train other people to be able to do
Okay.
some of the same stuff that I was able to do.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's where the investment paid off. I didn't know people were watching. I was just doing my what I normally do. But
Right.
I was also, as I started to progress and started to make more, of
Right.
course there was less stress, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to work with people. And then a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people gravitated to me because they saw this guy that was continuously getting promoted and continuously getting sent all over the country to participate in these special projects and winning, right? Um, and then being a real personable person in general. But that helped out a lot.
I want to kind of get into that because you said when you started to really take your work serious. And that's something that, I know that the guys in the Hall of Game, and there's a reason why I have those people on there, because I know that those guys that have, even though I haven't met you, but I know that these are guys who pay attention to their quality of work, just like I do.
Yep.
It's important. You notice, you talked about as you started to be more productive, and all the best people are productive. Apple's the most productive. The United States is productive. Germany's productive. All the best people talk with their productivity. A lot of black men don't do that. They talk with their mouth. But I try to talk my productivity. You talk with yours. You noticed that you understood that you were being noticed. People were watching. Okay. And then as your productivity and you're able to prove yourself as time went along, it was easier to get along with people because your productivity spoke for itself. Now, how was that different than your previous, what you had noticed when you're growing up in your previous life? How was that different from that phase?
Man, so typically what happens in business, and we talked about it briefly, is in God we trust, all of us pay cash, right? Meaning, yeah, you might talk a good game, but put the money on the wood. In the hood, somebody may be able to get by having a fly mouthpiece. In business and in industry, nobody give a damn about what you're saying, man. It's what have you done for me lately? What are you doing? Not only that, where's the data to support that, to support what you're doing? I'll give you a quick example. This year in September, I renegotiated my salary off cycle. It was a five-figure number, because I had all the data to say that everywhere that I go, I add value. It would have been one thing had I went into, the higher ups office and said, "Hey, I'm good at what I do. I need more money." It's about showing improve. It's about showing improvement. So I went through. I pulled all the data. I showed all the different departments that I led. I showed all the different people that I had worked with, and I showed step changes at each department. I showed that you could literally see on a bar graph. You could literally see all of the step changes where I had implemented certain things. You can see people that I had worked with, and they had grown 2-3 positions up. You can see where they were training other individuals. You can see where there was a physical change in these people, where before they were wearing t-shirts and cargo pants, kind of moving through the site, but now they're wearing polo shirts tucked in, blue jeans and cowboy boots. What I tell them is that is the uniform of leadership for what we do. And those who've absorbed it, those guys who've absorbed that information, all of them are literally, it's almost like you can look at it like a daisy chain. All of those guys are literally one behind the other. And then other people start to see that and want to be a part of it. And so you get more buy-in. And it's some guys want to be a part of it, but they don't understand that there's still real work that happens behind the scenes that they don't get a chance to see. But that is how I've been able to move up, is I've always had the data to support it. Always. I've never gotten an increase because somebody liked me or they thought I was handsome. It's always been I've had the data to prove it. And I'll tell you something else. I even took that data and I quantified it and I put a dollar amount to it. So that was another thing. Hey, I've added value here, but this is the dollar amount. This is how much money I've made.
I like that. Let me kind of get into the second partition of that, is that because there's some people who are very good at what they do. Like even on YouTube, they're very good YouTubers. They don't really work well with the YouTube community. But you were a person that you're very productive in your work life. But then also that allowed you to be able to establish work relationships. And I even see you doing that. Even the people may know you as a YouTuber, but I see you doing that here. You know people here, like you moderate for Kevin Samuels. People know you here. I know you. You're able to do that outside of work and open up other opportunities for yourself because you're a very sociable person. How have those skills helped you? Even in your own personal business life with your own business, or just outside of YouTube or outside of your workspace? How has establishing those things helped you as an African American man in your industries and outside of it?
Man, that skill is so important. It's so important. I'll tell you why. I had a shop in Dallas, and I was trying to get my permits to go through. It was right in the height of COVID. They had people out, um, and so I went in person to try to get these permits pushed through. Um, I submitted my drawings. They had lost them. They lost my drawings for my permits for the building that I was using. I could have easily went in and been a bull in a china shop and cursed and and did all this other stuff. But through years of doing what I do, I understood that all right, this is the time where you have to be a politician. What ended up happening is I got the support of somebody that's pretty high up in state government here in Texas. Got some support from him and was able to reach out to the councilman who was over that particular district. It still didn't work out because COVID was so prevalent and they had so many people out. So I had to look for another shop. I needed to look for another building for my business. I ended up running into a guy not too far from where I live, which is fairly rural. This guy, I could tell he probably doesn't have a lot of interactions with people who look like me or you, but I'm used to dealing with that particular demographic, whether
Okay.
it's salesmen, whether it's vendors, whether it's contractors, whether it's engineers. I'm used to interacting with a lot of these folks. So after having a conversation for probably about 10 minutes, the guy was ready to give me the key to the building and his firstborn and almost the keys to his truck too. Not because I finessed him, but he was able to see that okay, there's something different about this guy. I don't necessarily know what it is because he eventually came back and asked me, hey, what do you do? I know that you're starting a automotive restoration shop, but what do you do at your day job? And so I explained it to him, and I ended up finding out that he was on he sits on a panel for the town that my shop is in. So when you talk about permits, he was able to push that push it through like it was nothing. So being able to interact with people, and it's not about finessing. It's about being able to have a simple conversation, being able to articulate, being able to look at certain things from from that person's point of view, even if you don't agree with it, still hearing that person, providing feedback without stomping them or beating them in the ground. That stuff goes a long way, and those are all skills that I had to learn because I sure as hell didn't have them when I came in the door.
Okay. Let's talk about, because we both from the Black community, taking those skills, and then also because when we're dealing with our people, because there's a lot of opportunity dealing with African American Black men.
Yep.
And I know that the internet has made it so wide open to where like I would have never known of you if there wasn't for the internet, because we're not in the same city. But now, we get to see so many different African American men who are like-minded. We could come together and try to do something, just even have positive discussions. What is it going to take for African American men to have that sort of thinking, those soft skills to work with each other, to try to do something, and then to try to help us as a group elevate to do other things?
Excellent question.
I know it's hard.
Excellent question. No, it's not hard because I had to live it. Okay. What I tell you is, a lot of us, whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of us are a few things. You either hurt, whether maybe you've been robbed before, or maybe you got beat up in the second grade or something, and now you have this guard up. You're either scared. You came up in those environments, but mom never let you go outside like that, and you didn't have you didn't get to play with Ray Ray and how Kevin Samuels say nug nug. You didn't get to play with them up the street. You have to stay in front of the porch, or you're conditioned by your environment to where you are scared to be around a large group of us, or you are afraid to be in spaces that some of us are. What has to happen, and you talked about it maybe a year or two ago, brothers got to start speaking to each other. You'd be surprised how quick you disarm a brother. Y'all are walking towards each other. He may have a mug on, you looking dead in his eyes. What's going on, brother? You know what I mean? It's almost like he wanted to do that Denzel Washington glory cry with the tear roll down his face. but you have to disarm brothers by just speaking. Hey, what's going on, brother? And a lot of times you'll get it back, and I get it a lot more now. I've noticed the change over the last over the last year or so. You get it a lot more now. A lot of times brothers will say it first. So whereas before, and maybe it's because I'm old now or something, but you know, you walk by a brother and a lot of times they're not their head. Hey, what's going on, brother? You know what I mean? Hey, what's going on, brother? Hey, what's going on, bro? You know, once you do that typically immediately allows that brother to kind of decompress. The chest not puffed out as much. They kind of like, oh, okay, this ain't what's up, my nigga. It ain't that. You know what I mean? It's okay, yeah, what's going on, bro? Even though they may be apprehensive, it's like, all right, let me see what you on. At least you know I'm not gonna jaw off on you out of nowhere. Or at least you know I'm not gonna tell you, hey, what's going on, brother? And then, hey, and while you at it, give me that iPhone and your wallet. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have to disarm brothers, and maybe you don't get I've never spoke to a brother that way and he not said something back. Never.
Right.
Anytime I see dudes or sisters, I've had sisters do it. Hey, how you doing, sister? They look at me like,
oh yeah. That's how they be.
Yeah, my motherfucking brother. But a lot of I've had sisters do that. I speak to them and they kind of like, yeah. But black men, brothers, anytime I've done that, I've never had none of them mug or anything like that. I've even had brothers opening the door like, hey, go ahead, brother. All right, I appreciate that, brother. You know what I mean?
Right.
I see it a lot more now. But know who you are so that you don't feel like you're a smaller person for doing that, because you're not. It actually takes strength to do that. And just be open and mindful that, you don't know what this brother is dealing with. Another thing, too, be mindful that a lot of times we come from the same environment, man. That may be your cousin you just don't know about. The world is not a bigger place as you think.
Okay, let me ask you this. We're talking about being high value. I know Kevin Samuels says there's 5 things that make you. But what do you think for a lot of the black men that are coming in that want to get to that level? Because he does have his categories. But what are some of the things that you think the young black men, if they're in the lower working class, or in the Pookies and status, they want to come up, maybe been to jail, want to change their life. What are some of the things that they need to have to reach that higher earning status? What are some of the characteristics that these black men need to have in order to do so?
Man, it's going to take, this is a mental game. Not too much about what we're talking about is physical. This is mental. You have to change the way that you think. You have to be able to set goals and make a plan to reach those goals. And also you have to be patient. You have to let certain stuff play out. This is not something that happens overnight. It's easier to do it now with the YouTubes and with things like cryptocurrency. Technology has made it to where you can change your life in a year. But for the average brother who doesn't have good counsel yet, and he's trying to figure it out, you have to change your mindset. And it's not always fun. A lot of times it's putting the blinders on, not answering the text messages, not taking the calls, not hanging out, really focusing on your purpose and on your grind and hitting it hard consistently for weeks, months, and if it need be years on end. For me, it was years on end. But what I can tell you is when you commit to that goal, time flies by fast because you can see yourself gaining ground. But that's one of the most important pieces, man, is that is flipping the switch in your mind and say, you know what, I'm gonna be committed to this for 3 years, or I'm gonna be committed to this for the next 6 months. I'm gonna be committed to this for the next year. Nothing is gonna stop me. I'm not hanging out. I'm getting rid of some bad habits, and just doing that alone will change somebody's life. Committing to that goal for a specific amount of time and putting the blinders on and not dealing with anything that is not watering that fruit, which is your goal. And you don't have to be a hermit, but everything should revolve around whatever your goal is. Everything.
Right.
everything. Yeah.
Right. I would totally agree. And you know, you definitely you wake up and you sleep and you eat and breathe, you know, what you're trying to do to change your life. And you know, and give yourself credit for the little, you know, the things that you're doing, that you know that you're progressing. Sometimes everybody can't see it, and it's
Yeah.
not for them to see it. But you know, just keep
Right.
on, as the old people used to say back in church, keep on keeping on. You know,
Yeah.
they used
Keep
to
on
say
keeping
that.
on.
They used to
Yeah.
say that when I was coming up. They said that in Dallas too, huh?
What?
Yeah, I know.
Man, Dallas and California, bro.
It's
Texas
very,
and
very
California
similar.
got close ties. I got cousins that live in
Yeah,
Compton. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
Texas
And,
and
you know,
California got real close ties.
and Louisiana too. So most people come from the
Yeah.
South. My grandfather was actually died in Houston, Texas. So yeah, so
Mm.
just keep on keeping on, brothers. And I definitely thank Brother Wrench for coming on tonight.
Yeah.
I waited up for him to make sure I can get him on. But brother, I always ask everybody, you know, when we're dealing with the Hall of Game, why
Mm.
should they subscribe to the Wrench Turner YouTube channel?
Oh man, one of the things that you'll see is there's a specific, you know, idea that I came up with on my page, and it's Diary of a Reformed Pookie. Because a lot of times I've had people tell me that they thought I was from the suburbs, or they thought I was from another state. I've had sisters tell me, I didn't think you like sisters. You look like you like white girls, and I'm like, what? But I'm taking the brothers on this journey and the sisters on this journey of not only how I was able to kind of change my life and go from that quintessential Pookie, but also on this journey of figuring out my next level. I know what my next level is, but putting things in place to make sure that I'm able to reach my next level. Sometimes you see me put up videos and I actually be at my business and I talk about some of the stuff that I do there. Or it's really about growth. Some red pill content here and there, but it's really about growth and just an uncut, you know, raw information on how to smash the gas on your life. And it's also somebody who looks like you, talking the way that a lot of us talk in a language AAVE that a lot of us speak and understand anyway.
All right, brother. So I definitely thank you for coming by. Check him out, the first company at the top. Brother, thank you so much for stopping by. And as you guys know, the buffoonery remains an all-time high. I'm out.